Okay, once again, welcome to today's Zoom meeting. Uh, Two topics: how to reverse the diabetes through reducing the chronic inflammation, and the second one is how to reverse the diabesity through improving your gut health. So first of all, let's start with a simple but powerful idea that anything that cause inflammation will, in turn, cause insulin resistance. And anything that causes insulin resistance will cause inflammation. The two-way street is a dangerous spiral, and it sits at the root of so many of our 21st century chronic illnesses. Most of us know inflammation well. A sore throat hives from an allergy, a cut that gets swollen, red, hot, and tender. That's your immune system doing its visible protective job. But there's another kind of inflammation, the kind driving obesity and chronic disease is invisible. It doesn't hurt. Think of it. Uh, Please make sure that you're muted when you entered the Zoom. Thank you. So this kind uh, drives obesity and chronic disease is invisible. It doesn't hurt. Think of it as a hidden smoldering fire. Your immune system lights it while trying to fight off. So bad food like sugar, processed food, inflammatory fats, and food additives, stress and toxins, food allergens and intolerance, overgrowth of bad bugs in your gut, even low-grade infections. This triggers all raised levels of inflammatory molecules in your immune system. They are called cytokines. Cytokines are important because they fight infections and cancer. They help your body tell friends from foe. But when inflammatory cytokines get out of control, chronic diseases of every stripes follow. That hidden fire doesn't stay hidden forever. It becomes the engine behind so much of what makes us sick today. So remember, inflammation fuels insulin resistance, and insulin resistance fuels inflammation. If you can break that cycle, and you start to break the disease spiral. So the missing link, one of the biggest medical discoveries of the 21st century is this. Inflammation is the common thread. Apart from obvious allergic and autoimmune disease, it connects almost most chronic disease. So we are talking about heart disease, obesity, diabetes, cancer, dementia, and depression. So here is what happens. Out of control inflammation causes insulin resistance, and insulin resistance, as we now know, is the main driver in all those diseases, with the exception of autoimmunity and allergy. Then insulin resistance creates even more inflammation. And before long, the whole biological house burns down. So anything that triggers those inflammatory molecules, cytokines, makes your cells more resistant to insulin. Your pancreas responds by pumping out more insulin. It's desperately trying to get glucose inside your cells for energy. But here is the problem. Your cells aren't listening. They are resistant. So you need even more insulin. So insulin resistance is a state of starving in the midst of plenty. The fuel is right there, sugar in your blood, but your cells can't use it. And remember, insulin is a fat storage hormone. It makes you eat more and gain more weight. Here is what we now know. Fat cells or adipocytes aren't just storage. They produce their own highly inflammatory cytokines. They're called adipocytokines. or adipokines for short. So these adipokines include interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and tumor necrosis factor alpha. What do? They worsen insulin resistance, obesity, and diabetes, and they inflame nearly every other chronic disease you can name. So, inflammation triggers insulin resistance, and insulin resistance triggers more inflammation. Fat cells add fuel to the fire. So, that missing link, it was inflammation all along. So, if inflammation is a missing link, what actually triggers it? A number of recent studies pointed to a few basic causes, and here is the good news. We can identify them, we can treat them directly. So, first on the list, sugar, refined flour, trans fat, too many inflammatory omega 6 fatty acids from processed plant oils like soybean oil and corn oil. When we have artificial sweeteners, hidden food allergies and intolerance, chronic infections, imbalance in your gut bacteria, environmental toxins, and finally, stress and a sedentary lifestyle, all of this promote inflammation. Now, here is the key question. Which of these factors is the source of inflammation for you? The answer is different for everyone. Your triggers are not the same as your neighbor's triggers. So if you want to overcome diabetes and all the chronic disease that comes with it, you must locate all the sources of inflammation in your life and eliminate them. So let us help you identify your unique triggers, put out the hidden fire, and break the inflammation insulin spiral for good. Mounting evidence underscores a critical fact. Inflammation plays a central role in the development and continuation of diabetes. Consider this: people with a high blood level of C reactive protein, that is a marker of systemic inflammation, have a 1,700% increased probability of developing diabetes. In medicine, a 20 or 30% increase is considered significant. A 17-fold increase, that should be headline news. The increased rate of chronic illness we see in our society is a direct outcome of increased rate of inflammation. So let me be clear. There is no longer any debate about this in the world of medicine. So the important questions are not whether inflammation matters. They are what causing the inflammation and how do we treat it most effectively. I can assure you the answer is not simply to take more aspirin or Advil. That's like taking painkillers while a horse is standing on your foot. The treatment gets the horse off your foot. So that means finding the underlying cause of inflammation and eliminating the. I'll explain. Excuse me. So please make sure that you're muted. Okay, so I'll explain the primary courses in a moment. But first, take the quiz below to find out how inflamed you are right now. Remember to take this quiz before you start the program. Then take it again after the 6 weeks are over. So that is how you measure your before and after change in health. Based on your scores, you may need extra individualized support, so don't skip it. So let's begin having your self assessment by using this questionnaire. So I list all the questions. So think about any symptoms you have experienced in the last months, any symptoms at all, then give it 1 point. Add up your total score. That number tells you how severe your problem may be. Higher score, more hidden inflammation. More hidden inflammation, higher risk for chronic disease. So this isn't about fear, it's about awareness. So hidden inflammation is working against you every day. But once you see it, you can stop it. So let's find your score, then let's fix it. So the questions include: I frequently get colds and infections. I have recurring sinusitis. I have seasonal or environmental allergies. I have a history of chronic infections such as hepatitis, skin infections, canker sores, cold sores. I have food allergies or sensitivities, or I don't feel well after eating, like sluggishness, headaches, confusions, etc. My work environment includes poor lighting, chemicals, and or poor ventilation. Or I have had a heart attack or have a heart disease. I have a diabetes or I'm overweight, which means my BMI is greater than 25. I have bronchitis or asthma. I have eczema, acne, or rashes. I have arthritis, osteoarthritis, or degenerative arthritis. I have an autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, hypothyroidism, etc. I suffer from colitis or inflammatory bowel disease. I have irritable bowel syndrome, such as spastic colon. I have neuritis, such as ADHD, autism, mood and behavioral problems. Parkinson's or Alzheimer's disease runs in my family. My life is very stressful. I drink more than 3 alcoholic beverages a week. At work, I don't exercise more than 30 minutes 3 times a week. Or at work, I'm exposed to pesticides, toxic chemicals, loud noise, heavy metals, and or toxic bosses and coworkers. Then you add your points together. I can share mine. My total score is 5. So if your score is from 6 to 0, it means that you may have a low level of inflammation. If your score is 7 to 9, you may have a moderate level of inflammation. So my guess is that most of you found you are inflamed. Don't worry, you're not alone. And more importantly, this is fixable through dietary change or products of Greenwood. So if your score is from 0 to 9, you need some dietary change, including eat a wide varieties and sufficient amount of fruits, especially berries such as blueberry and strawberries. Eat a wide varieties and sufficient amount of vegetables, especially cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, and cabbage. Eat deep sea fish. Eat olive oil, walnut oil, and almond oil. As for products, we recommend blueberry juice or blueberry super nutrition, spirulina plus capsule, grapeseed extract capsule, and deep sea fish oil capsule. But if your score is 10 and above, you may have a severe level of inflammation. You need medical care. So you do both of the above steps and see a physician for additional assistance if you're not better after the first 6 weeks of the program. All right, so let's look at the cause of inflammation. The number one cause is dietary sugars, refined flours, and artificial sweeteners. Dietary sugars and refined flours are the biggest triggers of inflammation. They cause insulin levels to spike and start a cascade of biochemical reactions that turn on genes and leads to chronic and persistent inflammation. This begins a downward spiral into more inflammation, more insulin resistance, poorer blood sugar control, and more disease. However, it is not just sugar, but also artificial sweeteners that drive inflammation. Diet drinks and artificial sweeteners of all spikes likely increase insulin resistance. Lack of fiber too many inflammatory omega-6 fats from soybean oil and corn oil, and not enough anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acid like fish oil or flaxseed oil also contribute to the development of systemic inflammation, and that leads to worsening insulin resistance. Now you might think, I'll just switch to diet drinks and or artificial sweeteners. Problem solved, but that's not the case. Artificial sweeteners of all kind, yes, even those in zero sugar products, also drive inflammation, and research suggests they likely increase insulin resistance, just like sugar does. There are three more pieces to this inflammatory puzzle. First, a lack of fiber, which helps regulate blood sugar. Second, too many inflammatory omega-6 fats. And third, not enough anti-inflammatory omega-3 fats. Together, this factor doesn't just cause inflammation. They fuel systemic inflammation. And that, as you now know, leads directly to worsening insulin resistance. So what we eat isn't just calories, it's information for your body. Information that can either fan the flames of inflammation or put them out. Now let's take a look at the second cause of inflammation, food sensitivities and allergies. Now let's move to the second major cause of inflammation, food sensitivities and allergies. But I need to be very clear here. I'm not talking about the kind of allergies you probably think of, the immediate life-threatening reactions to peanuts or penicillin. Those are called IgE mediated responses. They can kill you within minutes, but they are not a major driver of insulin resistance or diabesity. The real problem is something else entirely. I'm talking about delayed or hidden allergies. These are known as IgG mediated responses. They don't make your throat swell shut. Instead, they cause subtle, often overlooked symptoms: fatigue, brain fog, joint pain, digestive issues. But here is the critical point. They create systemic low-grade inflammation in your body. And recent research shows that this type of inflammation may directly contribute to insulin resistance. Consider this striking study. Researchers compared obese children to normal weight children. The obese children had 3 times higher levels of C-reactive protein. This is a key marker of inflammation, and 2.5 times higher levels of IgG antibodies against 277 different food. But it gets worse. So the same obese children had sicker carotid arteries. That is the cholesterol-laden plaque building up, and that is a strong predator of future heart attacks and stroke. So where does that plaque come from? It starts in the gut. Inflammation damages the gut barrier. Then tiny food particles leak across into your bloodstream. So your immune system attacks them, and that triggers the release of inflammatory cytokines, the IL-1, IL-6, and TNF alpha. So that inflammation spreads throughout your body, and it ends up damaging your arteries and worsening insulin resistance. So this study reveals a previously unrecognized connection. Food allergies, weight gain, and insulin resistance are linked. The good news, diets that eliminate common food sensitivities can actually help treat diabetes. So people who struggle to lose weight, they often face two most common culprits: gluten and dietary products. And let me tell you, for many people, this is the single most important part of the program. It leads to the greatest weight loss and the most dramatic reversal of diabetes. There's solid evidence for this approach. One remarkable study published in one of the world's most prestigious journals, The Lancet showed that children with ADHD improved dramatically on an eliminated diet based on IgG food sensitivity testing. And here is an interesting link. ADHD and childhood obesity often appear together. They may be caused by the same underlying factors. So let me leave you with one final thought. In medical school, we were taught that celiac disease looked like this: a skinny kid with diarrhea, a bloated belly, and abdominal pain. But today, we know differently. They can be fat, can be old, can be constipated, or they can have no digestive symptoms at all and still have celiac disease. Food sensitivities don't always look the way we expect, but they are a hidden driver of inflammation, insulin resistance, and diabesity. So if you can't lose weight, if you have persistent inflammation, don't just count calories. Look at what your immune system might be reacting to without you even knowing it. So, gluten free nowadays is everywhere. Books, website, restaurants with dedicated gluten-free menus, grocery stores with hundreds of new gluten-free products on the shelves. So here is the question we have to ask. Is this just a fad, or is it a genuine response to a real and growing problems? Sadly, the answer is the latter. This is not a trend, it's a medical reality. Chronic disease is increasingly being caused by eating of beloved diet staple, bread, the so-called stuff of life. But here is what most people don't realize. Wheat isn't just in bread, it's hidden in everything from soups to vodka to salad dressing to lipsticks, even to envelope adhesive. We are exposed to wheat constantly, often without knowing it. In a moment, I'll explain why gluten sensitivity and celiac disease have been increasingly so dramatically. But first, understand the scale of the problem. At least 1% of the total population is believed to be allergic to gluten. And here is the most troubling part. 99% of people who have a problem with gluten or wheat are not currently diagnosed. They don't know. Their doctors don't know. And they continue eating wheat every single day, fueling chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, and diabetes. So is gluten free a fad? No, the fad is the public finally catching up to what the science has been showing for years. The real problem is how many people are suffering needlessly because they have no idea that the stuff of life, the bread, the wheat, is making them sick. So let's get specific about what gluten actually is. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, rye, spelt, and even oats. And here's what we now know. Gluten triggers obesity and diabetes across the spectrum from mild gluten sensitivity all the way to full-blown celiac disease. Celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder, and it triggers inflammation throughout the entire body. Now, you might think this is all about genetics, and it is true. 98% of people with celiac disease have a genetic predisposition. But here is the key fact that same genetic predisposition exists in 30% of the entire population. That is nearly 1 in 3 among the entire population. So if genes alone cause celiac disease, we'd have tens of millions of more cases than we actually do. Something else is going on. Of genes haven't changed in the last 50 years, but celiac disease has dramatically increased. Why? Because of environmental triggers. The biggest one, the hybridization of wheat. We have changed the quality and type of proteins and starches in wheat. The result is much higher gluten content of bread is not what it used to be. Now combine that supergluten wheat with the damage of gut have already suffered from, of modern diet, of toxic environment, of sedentary lifestyle, and the overuse of antibiotics and blockers and anti-inflammatory drugs. Add all this together, and what do you get? A perfect storm for gluten intolerance. Let me give you a stunning statistic from a landmark study. Researchers compared blood samples taken 50 years ago from 10,000 young Air Force recruits to recent samples from 10,000 people. So, what did they find? A 400% increase in celiac disease over the last 50 years. Let that sink in. 400%. And remember, that's just a full-blown celiac disease. Full-blown celiac disease now affects about 1 in every 100 people. But as we've already discussed, gluten sensitivity, the milder, hidden form, affects far, far more. And 99% of them don't even know it. The bread your grandmother ate is not the bread you're eating today, and your body knows the difference. Now, you don't need full-blown celiac disease to be harmed by gluten. Gluten also causes inflammation through a low-grade autoimmune reaction. Here is what that means. Your immune system creates low-level antibodies to gluten, but not enough to qualify as celiac disease. This is a hidden gluten sensitivity, and it is far more common than most doctors realize. So let me give you the numbers. 7% of the population have these anti-gliadin antibodies in their blood. That's proof that their immune system is reacting to gluten. And here is something striking. The antibodies have been found in 18% of people with autism and 20% of people with schizophrenia. The connection between gluten and brain disorders is real and is only beginning to be understood. Now, here is the most important statistics in this entire presentation. A major study uh, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that hidden gluten sensitivity increased the risk of death by 35 to 75%. The primary causes, heart disease and cancer. Think about that. Just by this one mechanism alone, hidden gluten sensitivity 409 million people are at increased risk for heart attack, obesity, cancer, and early death. So, how does gluten create this risk? Most of the damage happens when gluten injures the lining of your gut. Your gut barriers breaks down, and then all the bacteria and partially digested food particles that should stay inside your intestine leak across. They end up right under the surface of your gut lining, where 60% of your entire immune system is stationed. Your immune system sees these foreign particles as invaders. It attacks them, and that attack triggers systemic inflammation throughout your entire body. Now, here is what most doctors get wrong. Most physicians will dismiss gluten sensitivity if you don't have a diagnosis of celiac disease. But striking news research proves them wrong. Celiac disease results from what called adaptive immunity. Your body creates specific antibodies against wheat, but there is another kind of gluten sensitivity. It results from innate immunity, a generalized activated immune system. So these are two completely different arms of your immune system. So let me make this crystal clear. You can be gluten sensitive without having celiac disease, without having detectable gluten antibodies, and still have significant inflammation and a wide range of symptoms. The absence of a celiac diagnosis does not mean you are safe from gluten. Your body may be fighting it every single day and losing. So don't wait for a diagnosis that may never come. If you have inflammation, insulin resistance, or trouble losing weight, gluten could be the hidden driver. Too many people trying to eat healthy are eating too much gluten-free junk food like cookies, cakes, and processed food. Just because a food is gluten-free doesn't mean it's healthy. Gluten-free cookies and cakes are still cookies and cakes. Vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, and seeds, and lean animal protein are all gluten-free. So stick with those natural food. In the past, doctors would only diagnose celiac disease based on positive intestinal biopsy. Just give me one moment. But Dr. Alessio Fascino of the University of Maryland School of Medicine suggests a more inclusive way to diagnose celiac disease and gluten intolerance or sensitivity. He suggests that any of 4 out of 5 factors below a diagnostic. I would agree for full-blown celiac, but expect for only a positive gene test. I think any of these factors warrants a trial of a strict 10%, 100% gluten elimination diet for 6 weeks. And I believe if you have just 3 out of 5 criteria, you should be gluten-free for life. Now I give you all the 5 criteria. Number 1, you have symptoms of celiac disease, any digestive, allergic, autoimmune, or inflammatory disease, including diabesity. Number 2, you get better on a gluten-free diet. Number 3, you have elevated antibodies to gluten, anti-gliadin, to or tissue transglutaminase, the TTG antibodies. Number 5, you have the genes that predispose you to gluten sensitivity, the HLA DQ2 stroke 8, or you have a positive small intestinal biopsy. Believe me, I myself have 2 of the criteria, number 1 and number 2. So I just stopped the gluten food. I eliminate all the bread, pasta, cakes, processed food, pancakes, noodles, whatsoever. And I feel very much better. And I already lost 8 kilograms. And I look much younger than, than last year. So this is a result of eliminating gluten from your food if you are sensitive to it. So I'm sensitive to both gluten and dairy products. I completely eliminated them from my food, from my diet. We have talked about dietary sugars. We have talked about food sensitivities and gluten. Now let's move to the third major cause of inflammation, chronic infections. And I'm not talking about the obvious one, the colds and flus you recover from in a week. I'm talking about hidden low-grade infections that can smolder inside your body for years, silently fuel your inflammation. New research has uncovered a surprising link. Certain infections, like the adenovirus, the same virus that causes upper respiratory infections or infectious pink eye, may actually be linked to obesity and insulin resistance. Yes, you heard that correctly. A common virus could be contributing to weight gain and metabolic disease. So this is a game changer in how we think about diabetes. Here's how it works. This chronic infection don't necessarily make you feel acutely sick, but they keep your immune system activated 24/7, day after day, months after months. That constant activation produces ongoing low-grade systemic inflammation. The good news, these infections can be identified and treated. But here's the catch. Most conventional doctors aren't looking for them. It takes an experienced practitioner trained in functional medicine to recognize the signs and run the right test. So once identified, these chronic infections can be treated effectively. And there's more you can do beyond medical treatment. You can also boost your immune system to suppress and control these latent infections on your own. That means optimizing your nutrition, reducing stress, improving sleep, supporting your gut health. A stronger immune system is your best defense against the hidden infections that drive chronic inflammation. If you've been struggling with unexplained inflammation, insulin resistance, or weight gain, and you tried everything else, don't overlook the possibility of a chronic hidden infection. It may be the missing piece of your puzzle. Uh, we've covered sugar, we've covered food sensitivities, we've covered chronic infections. Now let's talk about the fourth major cause of inflammation, toxins. And this one is often completely overlooked, but the science is clear. Your toxic burden is making us sick, inflamed, and metabolically broken. Here's what's happened. Over the last several decades, our environment has become increasingly contaminated with two classes of toxins. First, persistent organic pollutants, things like PCBs and pesticides. So these chemicals don't break down easily. They stay in of soil, of water, of food, and ultimately in our bodies. Second, heavy metals, arsenic, mercury, lead. These are everywhere. In old paint, in contaminated water, in certain fish, even in some rice products. So here's what the research shows. The increasing load of these toxins in our body has been directly linked to both diabetes and insulin resistance. So this is not a small effect. This is a major dose-dependent relationship. So the more toxins stored in a fat tissue, the higher your risk of developing diabesity. So how do toxins cause diabesity? They enter your body through the food you eat, the water you drink, and the air you breathe. So your body stores many of these toxins in your fat tissues, which is one reason why losing weight can actually release a surge of toxins into your bloodstream if not done carefully. Once inside, these toxins trigger inflammation at the cellular level, and that inflammation, as you now know, leads directly to insulin resistance. You can eat perfectly, exercise regularly, and manage your stress. But if your body is overloaded with environmental toxins, you may still struggle with inflammation and insulin resistance. Addressing toxins isn't optional, it's essential. In the next section, we'll talk about how to reduce your toxic burden and help your body safely eliminating these inflammatory triggers. Believe me, I personally experienced this. Before I went to Canada, I had a very severe skin allergy. I have rashes all over my face due to my weight loss program. So, when you're losing your weight, make sure that you have a lot of, you're having products that help you to fight against the inflammation. So actually within 1 week, my skin rashes was gone. So that is how I became the MC, at the event of the Canada. So deal with it. When you're losing weight, it happens. We've talked about what you eat. We've talked about hidden infections. We talk about environmental toxins. But there's another cause of inflammation that doesn't come from outside your body. It comes from inside your own mind. I'm talking about chronic stress. So here is the biology. When you're stressed, your body releases stress hormones, primarily cortisol, in small, short bursts. Cortisol is helpful. It's what helps you respond to danger, meet a deadline, or give a presentation. But here is the problem. Chronic stress keeps those cortisol levels elevated day after day, month after month. And your body was never designed to live in that state. So, what does chronic cortisol elevation do to your body? Over time, uh, it does two things. First, it desensitizes your immune cells. They stop responding properly to normal signals. Second, it disrupts the normal regulatory pathways that keep your immune system in balance. The result, your body loses its ability to turn off inflammation. And you end up with persistent low grade inflammations throughout your entire body. So, this is exactly why chronic stress is linked to nearly every modern disease, from heart disease and diabetes to depression and autoimmune conditions. So the inflammation from stress doesn't stay in your mind. It spreads to every organ, every tissue, every cell in your body. That's one more reason, a powerful biological reason for you to relax and learn how to calm your mind. So learning to calm your mind may be the single most important thing you can do to cool the fires of inflammation in your body. I'm going to show you how to do that in next episode. We've covered stress. Now let's talk about its close cousin, physical inactivity. And honestly, it's hard to imagine that simply doing nothing can make you inflamed. But that's exactly what the science shows. Lack of regular exercise doesn't just make you out of shape, it actively creates low grade inflammation throughout your body. So here is the key point. When you don't move, your body shifts into a pro-inflammatory state. So when you do move regularly, your body shifts into an anti-inflammatory state. This isn't theory. This is basic biology. And it's why exercise is so critical to reversing and treating diabetes. So, how does exercise cool inflammation? Through two powerful mechanisms. First, regular exercise consistently stimulates the release of anti inflammatory cytokines. So, these are of body's natural fire extinguishers. At the same time, it lowers the pro inflammatory makers. So, you are simultaneously adding protection and removing harm. Second, exercise dramatically. Reduce visceral fat, that's deep belly fat wrapped around your organs. Visceral fat is not just storage, it's an active organ that pumps out inflammatory chemicals. So shrink that fat and you shrink the inflammation it produces. Think of it this way. Every time you exercise, even a brisk walk, you're activating, cooling the fires of inflammation in your body. You don't need to run a marathon. You don't need to spend hours in the gym. You just need to move consistently every day. Doing nothing is not neutral, it's actively inflammatory. So, but the reverse is also true. Every step you take is a step away from inflammation and towards metabolic health. So, stand up, walk, stretch, dance, do something. Your body will thank you at the cellular level. Studies show that deficiencies in basic nutrients such as vitamin D, omega-3 fats, and antioxidants promotes inflammation. And that simply taking a multivitamin and mineral supplement is as effective for lowering inflammation as taking a statin medication, with a lot less expense and fewer side effects. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory tools we have, vitamin D. And here is the truth. Most of us are deficient in it, and that deficiency may be silently fuels chronic inflammation. So, how does vitamin D suppress inflammation? It works directly at the genetic level. Vitamin D binds to receptors on of immune cells. That complex then travels to the nucleus of the cell, where your DNA lives. Once there, it literally turns down the genes that produce inflammatory chemicals. So think of vitamin D as a dimmer switch for your immune system's fire alarm. So when vitamin levels adequate, your immune system stays balanced. It fights real stress but doesn't overreact. So when vitamin D is low, that dimmer switch fails. Your immune cells become overreactive. They produce excessive amounts of pro-inflammatory cytokines, the same one linked to insulin resistance, heart disease, and autoimmune conditions. So the good news is restoring vitamin D is simple. You can get it from, sensible sun exposure, about 15 to 20 minutes a day, or food like fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified products. And for most people, a vitamin D3 supplement. We have vitamin D3 capsule, with each capsule providing 5,000 IU of vitamin D3. So take it for 1 or 2 months. After the anti-inflammation program is ended, you may switch to multivitamin tablets for adults or simply compound marrow powder. But here is the critical point. You cannot guess. Low vitamin D produces no obvious symptoms until inflammation has already done damage. So vitamin D is not just for bones. It's a master regulator of inflammation. So if you're struggling with chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, or diabesity, get your vitamin D level tested. Don't guess, test, and then treat. Because putting out the fire of inflammation may start with a simple vitamin. Let's take a look of omega-3 fatty acid. Now it's turn to omega-3 fatty acid. Probably these are one of the most scientifically proven anti-inflammatory compounds on the planet. Do you know how they actually work inside your body to put out the fire of chronic inflammation? Here is the first thing you need to understand. Your body needs both omega-6 and omega-3 fats, but they have opposite effects. Omega-6 fats found in soybean oil, corn oil, and most processed food are pro-inflammatory. They help your body mount an immune response when needed. But omega-3 fats found in fish, flaxseed, and walnuts are anti-inflammatory. So they help your body resolve inflammation and return to balance. The problem? The modern diet is flooded with omega-6 and starving for omega-3s. That imbalance fuels chronic inflammation. But here is the elegant science. When you eat omega-3, they are incorporated directly into your cell membrane. They literally change the structure of your cells. So once inside, omega-3 do two remarkable things. First, they reduce the production of pro-inflammatory molecules called the cytokines, the same ones linked to insulin resistance and diabesity. Second, they are converted to specialized compound called resolvins. The name says it all. Resolvins actively helps your body resolve inflammation. They don't just block it, they end it. So this is what makes omega-3s so powerful. Most anti-inflammatory drugs simply block one pathway of inflammation. They put a finger in the dam. Omega-3s, by contrast, activate your body's natural inflammation resolution system. So they tell your immune system, the threat is gone, stands down. Okay? That is the difference between managing symptoms and restoring health. So, how do you get more omega-3s? The best source of fatty fish, wild salmon, sardines, mackerels, anchovies. Aim for 2 to 3 servings a week. Plant sources like flaxseed, walnuts, and chia seeds are also beneficial, though they provide a different form of omega-3 that your body must convert. So for most people, a high-quality fish oil supplement is the most reliable way to achieve therapeutic levels. So deep sea fish oil capsule contains EPA and DHA. The fundamental omega-3 fatty acids, they don't just suppress inflammation, they actively resolve it. So if you're fighting chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, or diabetes, rebalancing your fat, more omega-3s fewer omega-6 is one of the most powerful steps you can take. So your body already know how to heal. Get it the right tool, starting with omega-3s. So this is what you're going to avoid in the next 6 weeks. Take the products we've recommended and avoid the following food. These are the staples of highly processed, hybridized modern diet, and they're killing us. I promise you will discover a whole new world of Mother Nature's magnificent food pantry, which will delight your senses, stimulate your palate, and leave you feeling clear and healthy, not to mention automatically thinner. So avoid sugars in any form whatsoever. Examples are maple syrup, stevia, and the latest greatest sweeteners of the day. So you already started this in, and then if you want to ask, this okay? I can tell you that even for artificial sweeteners, it is not okay. Number two, all flour products, even gluten-free. So this includes bagels, bread, roasts, wraps, pastas, etc. They are quickly absorbed and drive insulin sky high. Number three, all processed food. So this include all trans fat and high fructose corn syrup. Again, you you need to watch, you need to see the details of the labels. Number four, all gluten and dairy. So these are the major inflammatory food in your diet. You will learn more about eliminating them in the next chapter. Number five, if you're on the advanced plan, all grains, starchy vegetables, and fruit. Avoid winter squashes, peas, potatoes, corn, and root vegetables such as uh, rutabagas, parsnips, and turnips, and all fruit. So, except 1/2 cup of berries a day for just 6 weeks, you need to give yourself a jump start. So after 6 weeks, I recommend you reintroduce gluten and dairy products and see how they affect your weight, blood sugar, and metabolism, and how you feel. You may find they cause weight gain or make you sick. If so, stay off them long term. If you have been on the advanced plan, slowly add back in whole grains and limited amounts of starchy vegetables and fruits and watch how they affect your blood sugar, energy, and weight. So my personal experiences, I eliminated all the uh, foods that contain gluten, wheat, and the dairy products, and I feel much better. Next time, if you see me, I think I hope you can still recognize me. I look much younger, and I believe that's much more good looking than before. Okay, so this is the first part, the first episode. How to reverse diabetes through uh el eliminating or reducing the chronic inflammation. The second one, let me see. The second one is how to reverse diabetes through just a minute. I need to make a screenshot. So the second episode is about how to reverse diabetes through improving your gut health. Give me one moment. Okay, all right. So let me share my screen. All right. Okay, just give me one moment. Okay, now I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right, I think you can see my screen. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. Over the past 50 years, the incidence of diabetes has increased 7 to 10 fold. So it is not surprising if you or a beloved one are struggling with this. So actually, I had a pre-diabetes, and through my dietary change and using the products, now I completely reverse it, but I'm still struggling with insulin resistance. It's still there because my BMI is still around 24. I successfully brought it down from 29 to 24. So I'm still fighting against with the BMI. So my goal, my target is by the end of this year or the middle of next year, I'm going to bring my BMI back to 20. All right. So you see that in fact 1 in 10 people in the world are diagnosed with diabetes, with many more undiagnosed. So even if you haven't been diagnosed with diabetes, the incidence of metabolic syndrome is also increasing dramatically. So this can increase your risk for heart disease, stroke, as well as type 2 diabetes. So while excess sugar consumption sure does contribute to the diabetes epidemic, it may not be the biggest factor. Researchers look at the average sugar consumption over the years and saw that the diabetes epidemic didn't begin until 4 decades after the major increase in sugar consumption. So, if it was the primary driver, we'd likely see that the diabetes epidemic wouldn't have started decades sooner. So, if excess sugar consumption isn't the main reason for the diabetes epidemic, could it really be environmental toxins? So, new evidence points to an unexpected source of metabolic problem and diabesity, a toxic digestive system. As I've mentioned, of diet has changed dramatically in the last 10,000 years, and even more so in the last 100 years with the industrialization of our food supply. So, this highly processed, high sugar, high fat, low fiber diet has substantially altered the bacteria that historically grow in your digestive tracts. And the change has been linked to weight gain and diabetes. So many other modern inventions, including antibiotics and blockers, anti-inflammatory medication, aspirin, steroid, antibiotics in your food supply, chronic stress, and even cesarean section births all injure the gut, alter your gut flora, and lead to systemic inflammation. Is your gut uh, contributing to your diabesity? So we take a quiz below to find out. Remember to take this quiz before you start the program. And again, after 6 weeks over, you measure the before and after change in your health. So the health of your digestion mirrors your overall health. And increasingly, gut problems are linked to weight gain and obesity. So take this quiz to assess your gut issues. For any symptoms you have experienced in the last month, you give yourself 1 point. Then we add them together to find out how severe your problems is by summing up the total score. First, I get heartburn. I regularly use antacid. I feel bloated or full and or having belching, burning, or flatulence right after meals. Eating bread or other sugars cause bloating. I have chronic yeast or fungal infections, such as drought itch, vaginal yeast infections, aceless foot, toenail fungus, or I have chronic abdominal pain. I feel fatigued after eating. I often experience diarrhea, I have a bowel movement less than once or twice a day. My stools are greasy, large, poorly formed, or foul smelling. I sometimes notice food that is not fully digested in my stool. Well, it sounds disgusting. I have food allergies, intolerance, or reactions. I have thrush, whitish tongue. I have bleeding gums or gingivitis, or I have a map-like rash on my tongue indicating food allergy or yeast overgrowth, or I have a sores on my tongue. I frequently get canker sores, or I drink more than 3 alcoholic beverages a week, or I crave sweets and bread, or my life is excessively stressful, or I have a history of using the non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen, naproxen, etc., or other anti-inflammatory use. Or I frequently use antibiotics or have frequently used them in the past, more than 1 to 2 times in 3 years. Or I have taken prednisone or other steroid drugs. Or I have taken birth control pills or hormone replacement. When I take supplements, I feel nauseous or I experience I experience anal itching or I have had the following disease or conditions. You score 1 point for each. For example, acne after adolescence, chronic hives, eczema, rosacea, uh, psoriasis, chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic autoimmune diseases, autism, ADHD, fibromyalgia, inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, or celiac disease. Then you work out your total. I work out my total. My total is 5. So, if you have found out you have digestive imbalances, you're not alone. They're among the most common reasons people see their doctor. So some of the top selling drugs of all time are acid blockers such as Prilosec, Prevacid, and Nexum used for reflux, which affects up to 44% of the population. Irritable bowel syndrome affects 15% of the population, and there is no effective drug treatment. Inflammatory bowel disease, such as colitis or Crohn's disease, are on the rise. Clearly, there is something amiss with our digestive system. So, getting your system back in balance will not only relieve your digestive symptoms, but also help you reverse diabetes. So if your score is from 0 to 8, it means you may have a low level problem with your gut. If your score is 9 to 12, you may have a moderate problem with your gut. So if your score fall from 0 to 12, you need lifestyle change, including increased diverse fiber sources, oats, barley, nuts, seed, beans, lentils, apples, citrus, feed bifid bacteria as soluble fiber, vegetables, whole grains, wheat bran as insoluble fiber. Add fermented food like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and pasteurized or refrigerated kimchi, miso, tempeh, kombucha. This is a very Asian food. Number 3 include final polyphenol-rich food like berries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, dark chocolate with over 70% cocoa, green tea, coffee, red grapes, olives, walnuts, artichokes, red onions. So the products we want to recommend to you including clear Changjingjing solid beverage, blueberry enzyme tablets, blueberry probiotics, blueberry super nutrition, mucilus, and chitosan capsule. If your score is 13 and above, it means you may have a severe problem with your gut. So you need to seek medical care, see a doctor, and do both of the above steps and see a physician for additional assistance if you are not better after the first 6 of the program. So think of your gut as one big bustling ecosystem, not so different from a rainforest or a coral reef. Now look inside. That ecosystem contains over 500 species of bacteria, weighing in at about 3 pounds of your total body weight. So that is as heavy as your brain. But here is the staggering part. You are outnumbered. Inside you live more than 100 trillion microbial cells, and there is 100 times more bacterial DNA than human DNA in your body. So let that sink in. You are a minority in your own body. So these bugs don't just hang out, they control your digestion, metabolism, inflammation levels, and even your risk for colon and other cancers. They produce vitamins, beneficial nutrients, and molecules that sustain your body through symbiosis, a mutually beneficial relationship. So, this is a human microbiome, and a whole new field of research shows it dramatically affects your weight and health. So, here is where it gets revolutionary. Your weight may be controlled more by what your bacteria eat than by what you eat. So, consider this remarkable study. Mice with no bacteria in their gut has 42% less body fat, even though they add 28% more calories than normal mice. And watch this. When scientists reintroduce normal bacteria in those sterile mice, there were a 57% increase in body fat and insulin resistance without any increase in food or decrease in exercise. So let me repeat that. Same calories, same movement, different bacteria, different weight. So this explodes the myth that weight loss is just about calorie in, calorie out. So you get bacteria thrives on what you feed them. Feed them whole, fresh, real food, good bugs grow. Feed them junk and processed food, bad bugs grow. And bed bugs are not just passive, they produce nasty toxins. So instead of symbiosis, you create dysbiosis, a harmful interaction that damages your gut lining. So when the bad bugs take over, they create a leaky gut. Partially digested food particles and microbial toxins leak across your gut wall. So your immune system sees this as foreign invaders. It attacks. So that triggers inflammation, and that inflammation damages your metabolism, changes how your brain controls appetite, creates insulin resistance, and ultimately weight gain. So, is there hope? Absolutely. Supplements of probiotics, the good bacteria, may help improve the quality of your gut ecosystem. They are legitimate partner in weight loss. But remember, they work best when you also feed them the right fuel, whole, fresh, real food, especially when you consume probiotics into your digestive system. So the process by which bed bugs in your gut produce toxins was described in a paper published in 2007 in Diabetes Journal. So the study showed how metabolic endotoxemia, the production of toxins from bed bugs in your gut, initiate and promote obesity and insulin resistance. So the findings were striking. In rat fed a high fat, low fiber diet, bed bugs took over. The bedbugs released bacterial toxins called the lipopolysaccharide, the LPS, into the bloodstream through the gut. So these toxins bond to immune cells, the white cells, or lymphocytes. So the white blood cells, aggravated by the bacterial toxins, produce an inflammatory molecules called tumor necrosis factor alpha. So this molecule then set into motion a well-described cascade of inflammation causing insulin resistance. So you know what happens from here. The bottom line is this: the toxic bugs in your gut may make you fat and inflamed. Improving the quality of your diet with whole, fresh, high fiber food can significantly reduce the inflammation and the resulting weight gain simply by supporting healthy flora in your intestine. Putting good bugs such as lactobacillus, bifidobacterium, and the healthy type of E. coli back into your gut will help cool the inflammation and help you shed pounds. So you may need a special stool test if you're not getting better. But for most people, what we in functional medicine called the 4R program works very well. Remove the bed bugs, drugs, and food allergens. Replace needed enzymes, fiber, and prebiotics. Re Renoculate your gut with good bacteria or probiotics, and finally repair the gut lining with omega-3 fats, zinc, glutamine, coursing, and other healing nutrients. So it is like plant a garden in your gut. First, get the soil ready by mixing the soil with the green manure. Sow the seed, which are the good bacteria. In the case, spray water and organic fertilizer to nurture the good bacteria growth. Everyone is focused on lifestyle, calories in, calories out, and medication for diabetes. But the scientific data tells us something else is contributing to the epidemic. We have found that environmental toxins interfere with blood sugar and cholesterol metabolism and cause insulin resistance. When an individual has tried everything else yet still see no difference, think about the role of environmental toxins on metabolism, obesity, and insulin resistance. So toxins also act as hormone disruptors and are linked to many female complaints. So if you have struggled with weight loss and diabetes despite eating a perfect diet and exercising your butt off, it may be the effect of the load of toxins in your body interfering with your metabolism. Take the quiz below to find out if you are toxic. So remember to take the quiz before and start the program, and again after the 6 weeks are over to measure the before and after change in your health. So we often don't connect of ill health or symptoms directly with the effects of environmental toxins. So this quiz will help you make that link. For any symptoms you have experienced in the last month, score 1 point. Then find out how severe your problem is by adding up the total score. I produce small amounts of urine only a few times a day and it's dark and strong smelling. I have bowel movement only every other day or less often. I have hard, difficult to pass bowel movement every day and every other day. I almost never break a real sweat. I have one or more of the following symptoms. Score 1 point for each: concentration and memory problems, headaches, fatigues, muscle aches. Most of my clothes are dry cleaned. I drink bottled water from plastic containers and filtered tap water or well water. I get my house or apartment treated for bugs by an exterminator, or use a household of lawn garden chemicals. I work or live in a tight building with poor ventilation or windows that don't open. I live in a large urban or industrial area. My diet includes swordfish, tilefish, tuna, shark, or other large fish more than once a week. I have more than 2 mercury fillings in my teeth. I'm bothered by one of or more of the following. Score 1 point if you are bothered by any of this. Not 1 point for each. Perfumes, soaps, gasoline or diesel fumes, new car smells, tobacco smoke, chlorinated water, detergents, dry cleaning, fabric stores, hairspray, or other strong odors. When I drink When I drink caffeine, I experience anxiety, palpitation, sweating, or dizziness. I feel wired up and experience an increase in joint and muscle aches. I have a negative reaction when I consume food containing MSG, sulfide found in wine, dried fruit, salad bars, solid benzoate, preservative, red wine, cheese, banana, chocolate, or even a small amount of alcohol, garlic, or onions. I regularly consume the following substance uh, or medication. Score 1 point if you take any of this, not 1 point for each. Acetaminophen, ibuprofen, or naproxen. Acid blocking drugs like Tagamet, Zantac, Pepcid, Prilosec, or Prevacid. Medications for colitis, Crohn's diseases, recurrent headaches, allergy symptoms, nausea, diarrhea, or indigestion. Hormone modulating medications in pills, patches, or creams, birth control pills, estrogen, progesterone, or prostate medication. I have had jaundice, means turning yellow, or I have Gilbert syndrome. This is an elevation of bilirubin. I have a history of any of the following conditions. Score 1 point if you have a history of any of this, not 1 point for each. Breast cancer, smoking-induced lung cancer, other type of cancer, food allergies, sensitivities or intolerance, or prostate problems. I have a family history of Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, uh, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, multiple sclerosis, or other neurodegenerative diseases. I get regular flu vaccines which contain mercury or uh, s- s- cimerosol, or I have fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome. Then you work out your total. If your total score is from 0 to 6, it means you have a low level of toxicity. If your score is from 7 to 9, it means you may have a moderate level of toxicity. So the dietary change we give you is number 1, increase insoluble fiber. Number 2, increase soluble fiber. Number 3, increase resistant starch. Number 4, increase polyphenols. 5, increase hydration. You mean once you take dietary fiber, and if you don't drink adequate amount of water, it may make your constipation worse. So fiber does nothing without water. Number 6, reduce food that create toxic load in the colon, like red and processed meat, fried and charred barbecued food, highly processed food, excess alcohol, and artificial sweeteners. So for products we want to recommend you include clear Changjingjing solid beverage, ink cleansing tea, and Chitosan capsule. So, if your score is beyond 10, it means you may have a severe level of toxins. Also, you take the dietary change and the recommended products. Do both of the above steps and see a physician for additional assistance if you're not better after the first 6 weeks of the program. So this is how you're going to do. Now, the most recent examples of how toxins made us fat can be seen in the dramatic increase in obesity in babies. In 2006, scientists at the Harvard School of Public Health found that the rate of obesity in infants less than 6 months old has risen 73% since 1980. Uh, So this is not related to lack of exercise or diet. After all, babies that age are only drinking breast milk or formula. They don't say, "Hey mom, take me out for a 1200 calorie McDonald's breakfast or a giant tub of buttered popcorn." And you can't point to watching too much television or video games as a risk factor. So their little bodies, the toxins make them fat. The average newborn has 287 chemicals in their umbilical cord blood, 217 of which are neurotoxic. It means poisonous to the nerve or nerve system. The chemicals this infants are exposed to include pesticides, phthalates, uh, bisphenol A, flame retardants, and heavy metals such as mercury, lead, and arsenic. So these chemicals have a broad range of negative effects on human biology. They damage the nerve system and increase the risk of cancer. And now they have been shown to contribute to obesity. A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that uh, bisphenol A, a pre a pre a petrochemical that lines water bottles and canned food containers, increase the person's risk of diabetes, heart disease, and abnormal liver function or fatty liver caused by insulin resistance. In data from the government's National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey 1999 to 2002 found a striking correlation between diet and blood levels of 6 common persistent organic pollutants. Number two, in 2013, an article reviewed compels evidence linking environmental pollutants like BPA, phthalates, and heavy metals like arsenic to insulin resistance, noting their rise prevalence alongside metabolic diseases. A study in 2022. So these pollutants act as metabolic disruptors, altering insulin signaling by induce oxidative stress, inflammation, and epidemic changes in receptor. In insulin sensitive tissues like liver and muscle, for instance, BPA inspires insulin receptors function, while arsenic increases reactive oxygen species, both leads to uh, both leading to reduced glucose uptake. Number three, a study in 2022 reviews how endocrine disrupting chemicals like BPA, uh, solid and heavy metals, for example, like cadmium, tied to type 2 diabetes, often via insulin resistance. So human and animal data show ECD's interference with hormone synthesis and insulin resistance and insulin action. So heavy metals like cadmium induce oxidative stress, further impairing insulin signaling. A lab study in 2018 tested heavy metals on pancreatic beta cells, finding arsenic and cadmium significantly inhibit glucose-stimulated insulin secretion, a precursor to insulin resistance. At low doses, this study shows that arsenic and cadmium accumulate in mitochondria, disrupt oxidative phosphorylation and ATP production, critical for insulin resistance. This mitochondrial damage reduces beta cell responsiveness, shifting technical body towards insulin resistance to compensate for poor secretion. So the old idea that weight gain is simply a matter of calorie in, calorie out is falling apart. New evidence shows that it can occur in the absence of exercise calorie intake. For example, in a recent study, rats given toxic chemicals gained weight and increased their fat storage without increased caloric intake or decreased exercise. In 6 months, this rat was 20% heavier and had 36% more body fat than rat not exposed to those chemicals. So here is the take-home message. If you are toxic, you can gain weight without eating any more calories or doing any less exercise. So let's talk about the products one by one. Number one, clear Changjingjing solid beverage. The beauty of this product lies in its dual action on gut health. Not only does it improve peristalsis of the large intestine, but it also repairs damage to the intestinal endothelial wall caused by leaky gut syndrome. Thanks in large part to blueberry and anthocyanin as one of its key ingredients. Number two, chitosan capsule. Chitosan promotes wound healing by accelerating tissue regeneration and reducing inflammation. While in the gut, it acts as a prebiotic fiber that supports beneficial bacteria and helps strengthen the intestinal barrier to improve overall gut health. Number three, ink cleansing tea. Ink cleansing tea can be consumed daily to support healthy intestinal peristalsis and helps flush waste from the digestive tract. Additionally, drinking 1 or 2 sachets of this herbal tea every day contributes to your daily fluid intake, helping you stay well hydrated. Number four, blueberry enzyme tablets. Blueberry anthocyanins help repair the intestinal lining and reduce inflammation, while fruits and vegetables, enzymes, and digestion and nutrients absorption, working together to support overall gut health. Number five, blueberry prebiotics. Blueberry prebiotics provide the seed of the good bacteria for the gut's health, while the following benefits: prebiotic diversity. 3 different prebiotic fibers, resistant dextrin, FOS, lactitol, fit different bacterial species. This aligns perfectly with the fit the variety principle from our presentation. Then multi-stream probiotics. 4 bacteria strains, including 2 bifidobacteria species, which are often reduced in people with dysbiosis. Polyphenol from blueberry. Gut bacteria metabolize blueberry polyphenols into anti-inflammatory compounds that protect the gut lining, directly counteracting the leaky gut metabolism you described. Synergy. Prebiotics plus probiotics plus polyphenols equals a complete gut ecosystem, which can support your formula. Number six, blueberry super nutrition. The fructose oligosaccharide in its formula serves as prebiotic fibers that selectively feed gut bacteria, like bifidobacteria, promoting a healthy microbiome, enhancing mineral absorption, and supporting regular bowel function. Number three, male cellulose. This is a good source of plant fiber, which support your gut health by acting as prebiotics that feed beneficial bacteria. Adding bark to stools to promote a regular bowel movement and fermenting into short-chain fatty acids that strengthening the intestinal barrier and reduce inflammation. In summary, a healthy gut is the foundation of metabolic health. By supporting your body's natural detoxification processes through a fiber-rich diet, adequate hydration, and a balanced microbiome, you reduce systematic inflammation, strengthening the intestinal barrier, and prevent harmful endotoxins from entering your bloodstream. This, in turn, lowers the burden on your own cell's insulin resistance, uh, allow, allowing glucose to be absorbed most efficiently and reducing the risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. In essence, when reducing the risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, when you detox your gut, you're not just cleansing your colon, you're restoring your body's ability to regulate blood sugar, control weight, and maintain long-term metabolic balance. Feed your gut well, and your metabolism will thank you. So this is what I'm going to actually I have shared already. Now I think I can stop sharing my screen. Do we have any questions in the chat box? Okay, what causes nausea in diabetic patients? For diabetic patients, the high glucose itself can cause nausea. I can share my personal experience. So if I eat too much starchy food, within 1 hour, I feel sleepy, very sleepy, and feel headache and a little bit nausea. It's because your insulin is sky high and your glucose level is very high. Just for curiosity, is there any link relationship between dementia and diabetes? Definitely. Dementia is called the third diabetes. So if people have diabetes, definitely that individual run very high risks of dementia. My dad has 40 years of diabetes, now already have Parkinson's and dementia. Even in what causes yellowish and black toenails, as well as heavy uh, feet in a diabetic person, fungi infection. Because people with diabetes, they have very high blood sugar level, and the high blood sugar itself is food, is culture for bacteria, for viruses, for fungi. So those people will have very high risks of developing fungi yeast infection. Does passing wind frequently related to any inflammation? Definitely. If somebody has uh, gut problems, inflammation in your gut, poor microbiome, or inflammation, definitely you pass a lot of wind. I give you an example. My mom recently was sick due to drinking too much milk. Actually, she had you know uh, fracture. She fell in the toilet and she had a fracture. So she drank a lot of milk, but definitely she's sorry, dietary uh, intolerance. Mm, the lactose intolerance. So she has bloated belly, inflatuation, and eventually she had acute gastrointestinal infection due to the food intolerance. And now she's in hospital, but she's much better. The doctors give her the antibiotics and vitamins, so she's much better. So definitely, you pass wind and have all this digestive signs and symptoms if you have inflammation in your gut. Okay, this is a very informative presentation. Thank you. Oh, the slide. I'm going to share the slide uh, immediately after the presentation. Okay, so how to treat brain fog. Okay, the best product for brain fog is the brain food. In Greenwood, we have ginkgo biloba as brain food. We have, the blueberry products. Also, the blueberry anthocyanins can cross the brain blood barrier and nourish your brain. And definitely, you have lecithin, uh, which is a structural component of neural system, and also deep sea fish oil, the omega-3 fatty acids that can boost your brain function. Is honey okay? It contains sugar. Honey is quite a good food if you are not diabetic or pre-diabetic. So if you're okay, if you're 100% okay, you have a very healthy pancreas, you can eat honey. Honey is very good. Honey contains a lot of sugar, that's for sure. My question was why diabetic patients get chronic nausea? It's because of high blood sugar. What products can be recommended for mothers pregnant with gestational diabetes? For gestational diabetes, you need to consult doctor. This is totally out of control because we never recommend the products with therapeutic effects to pregnant women or nursing mothers unless pure nutrients. For example, multivitamins for adults, lecithin, deep sea fish oil, protein powder, blueberry juice, blueberry super nutrition. Those are pure food we can recommend. But for herbal, remedies, for example, like balsam pear tea, Chitosan, the glucoblock, we don't want to recommend these products to pregnant women or nursing mothers. What can I use to get rid of skin tags? Oh, you can use blueberry, you know, for skin tags. Well, you need to special techniques to wash them off, right? Uh, that is not what Greenwood product can help. Why does clear Changjing cause too much pain? Cause too much pain when emptying your bowels. Okay, it improves the peristalsis of your intestine, especially for somebody who's highly sensitive. People react in different ways, very differently to Changjing. When I take Changjing, I just go to the toilet several times, but I don't have pain. And if somebody has already got the damage to your intestinal wall, the endothelial wall, so if the damage is too much, then you will have pain. So don't worry, you can take the chitosan and blueberry products to get that small wound healed, and also take the zinc tablets. My niece has had a swollen spleen for more than 2 years. What can you recommend? Okay, swallow spleen. You got to really link this with you know, how to say, with uh, some infections uh, cause the swollen spleens and the swollen liver. You got to really test, uh, give the kids ultrasound test and see what really caused the swollen spleen. Here I cannot give you this. I cannot guess what is the main cause. Uh, Malaria can cause swollen spleen. So if that kid uh, has frequent attack of malaria, very possibly this is the case. So treat the malaria. Do we have vitamin D3 at head office? Uh, which country you're from? In some of the markets, I know we have the vitamin D3 capsules. I know it is there in South Africa and Kenya. So check with your general manager. So we can cure diabetes by handling inflammation for a person already diabetic. Let me put this way. If it is pre-diabetic, you can reverse it through all the dimensions I introduced to you, from changing your diet, from regulate your hormonal levels by reducing the inflammation, by improving your gut health. For pre-diabetes, yes, you can totally reverse it. And if it is a diabetic patient, if it is at early stage, you use the medication and also you do all this, yes, it can dramatically reverse it. But if it is already at late stage, already have complications, you can only improve the signs and symptoms. You cannot completely reverse it. I successfully reversed my pre-diabetes. I can tell you that my fasting blood sugar level used to be 7, and my after 2 hours after meal, my blood sugar can go as high as 11. Actually, it's not pre-diabetic. It's type 2. It's typical type 2 diabetes, but at early stage. I use all this method. Uh, I cut the consumption of all kind of carbohydrates, processed food, dairy products. I suppress my inflammation. I exercise, regular exercise every day. I walk for 10,000 steps, and I swim for 1,000 meters. And I strictly regulate my diet, my food, and I try to reduce my stress. I'm going to share with you how I do it. Actually, I keep my journal. I take my journal. Journaling helped me a lot, and I think when I get stuck in the traffic, uh back and forth to the office for 2 hours, actually 1 hour to the office, 1 hour back, I actually make my car a karaoke. I sing. So by doing all this, I successfully, totally successfully, reverse my type 2 diabetes. Now my fasting blood sugar is 6, and after the meal, my blood sugar can maintain at 9, something at 8 or 9. So it is quite good. So we can bring care, spirulina, soybean, ginkgo biloba, deep sea capsules, including plastic. Yes, very good. So what can I use for earache with discharge? Oh, then you should treat your ears. So this is not, because when you take products, very little products can go there. So you got to see a doctor. What causes a dandruff? Oh, dandruff is sort of inflammation of your scalp. So you wash your shampoo with mild shampoo. You can use, we have a very good shampoo, and also you can use of olive soap and take the blueberry juice. So what can I use for back pain, especially the spinal cord to the tailbone? Test it for arthritis, but it was undetected. You take compound marrow powder, and that's going to help you a lot. And kidney tonifying for men and women depending on your madam. So kidney tonifying for women, and it's very good for back pain. So what can you recommend for a child, uh, 9 years old with a frequent urination? During the day, she went to toilet frequently. First, check whether she has any urinary tract infection, whether she has pain or she has discomfort when she was urinating. So check it out. Ask her because 9-year-old is quite good. She can answer your questions clearly. Check whether she has any inflammation of the urinary tract. So if she has, treat the urinary tract infection. If not, she need a checkup, to check her pituitary gland because when a kid's pituitary gland has problem, then she could have very frequent urination. And also check the kidney. Give a kidney a checkup. For some of the kidney nephritis, that kid could also have frequent urination. So check whether the uh, problems come from the urinary tract or from the kidney itself or from the pituitary glands. Okay, can someone attend to my client in China? Any connection? I got no idea. You have a client in China? Okay, you can let them contact the head office. Okay, now what I'm going to do is if there's no more questions, I'm going to quickly share my file. Okay, let me see. I can share my file and then you can download your file. Let's see, Dropbox. All right, so I'm going to share my file, my slideshow. So if you can download from your laptop or from your computer, you can just do that. Uh, After that, I'm going to keep my Zoom meeting on for 10 minutes until everybody gets it downloaded. So thank you very much for being with us for today. So next time, I'm going to share 3 more topics. How we're going to reverse the diabetes through uh, soothing your mind and also through this is improving your gut. Just a moment. I'm going to drop this in the box. So the file is being sending. Now after a few minutes, you can start downloading the files. So any more questions? What can I recommend for, okay, let me see. Uh, what can I use for burning feet? Do you mean an athlete feet? A fungi infection? A very good idea is you make some cooling tea and cool it down and give you a foot bath with a cooling plus tea. It works very well, believe me. Which food stuff can be eliminated for type 2 diabetes person who had it for 2 decades? Starchy food, sugar, processed food, wheat products, flour, refined flour, artificial sweeteners, and dairy products. Hello, can someone attend to my client Now, it is not very clear. What can I recommend for 80 years old lady having problems with numbness in her right leg from hip down? Or okay, that could be a uh because the spinal cord, out of shaped spinal cord or protruding spinal cord, it press the nerves that controls the limbs, controls the legs. So I think for this year of lady, give her compound marrow powder and products that can soothe the nerve like deep sea fish oil and lecithin. Okay, where did go to download? You got to check your mobile. There's some button that you can press to download. What is normal sugar level? How do I know your sugar is high or normal? Oh, you can check. Check online. Normally, the sugar is below 6.9 for fasting sugar, and should be less than you know I think less than 8 uh after two after eating a meal, after 2 hours eating a meal. So you got to have a blood sugar test, either in pharmacies or in a clinic. The doctors will tell you whether your sugar is high or normal. Which products can I use for painful sores, especially in the morning when I wake up? Okay, painful sores is the first warning sign of osteoporosis. So you take calcium products or compound marrow powder and kidney tonifying for men or for women. I have dropped already. You can see it. I have dropped the files already, but now it's being sent. It's not yet sent, completed. After it's complete, you will see it in your devices. So it is being uploaded now. So after it finished uploading, you can start downloading. So you can't see the file so far. Now one is gone, it's completed already. So you can download the first one. The second one is still being uploaded. Okay, okay. All right. So I'll keep this on for 6 more minutes until you finish downloading. So the second file is being sent. Just give it a few seconds. The majority is being sent. So any more questions? Believe me, pre-diabetes and early stage diabetes can be reversed completely with proper medication and lifestyle changes. I did it. And I look younger, I feel better, I feel more energetic, and I really love who am I. I'm much I feel much better than 1 year ago. I did it through doing all this. All right, so you can start downloading. Oh no, the second file is also being sent. It's not yet sent. Okay, now it's uploaded completely. You can start downloading it. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording this